Well, welcome everyone to today's episode of TMI Advice You Didn't Want. We're going to jump into a topic that we were starting to talk about last time, but we didn't really have the time to chat about it. So it's this whole concept of now you see it, now you don't, or it wasn't there and now suddenly it is. That whole manifestation concept of that instantaneous 5D manifestation. Wow, I'm getting chills as I'm just talking about this because this is so possible, and we have programmed ourselves to think that it's impossible for us to create in this way in this 3D plane. And we're going to talk about how it is possible to create this way. So, in case we haven't met, my name is Karen.
And my name is Ashley. And I think it's pretty cool, especially with how like social media is now. You hear people's stories more than you probably ever did. And when you're watching people's TikTok stories, and I think most people, when they're trying to manifest, it's money. And whether it's money to buy things or money for freedom, I think we are very focused on money in our 3D reality. And you watch people's TikToks and they're like, oh yeah, I went from making like $400 a month to like $20,000 a month. And so it works so quickly when you tap in and you shift. And it's pretty crazy like how you can see so many stories of people that their life completely changed overnight, really.
And I mean, a lot of that has to do with the fact that we change, right?
Mhm.
So, in order for this kind of concept to work, we have to change. We can't keep doing what we've been doing in order to create something completely new in our life. We have to have that new thought. We have to make a new choice around that new thought. And then we have to start acting as if in order to create it. That's the only way that we're going to create something new is it
Mhm.
starts with that new thought. And so that's why I think that I love doing this podcast, because in a lot of ways, yes, we're giving you advice you didn't want, but we're also probably opening up some ideas around things that we as a human race can do that we thought we couldn't.
Yeah.
So one thing that one of my mentors, every time I hear this story, it gives me chills. So one of my mentors was out in the woods meditating, and he was there for a couple days, right? And he was just getting himself back recentered, basically. And he was out just really deep in the woods. He had a camper. He was going back to his camper, and he was thinking about how he had this really nice bottle of wine that he was going to open when he got back to his camper. And he's like, "Ooh, that sounds really good." Then he started thinking about the bread that he could eat with it. And he was like, "The bread I have in my camper, it's okay. It's not like, it's not really what I want though. I
Mhm.
really actually like," and he started thinking of this like really crusty bread on the outside with the soft inside. I think that's, what is that, ciabatta or something? I don't even know. But he was just thinking about this like really crusty outside, really soft inside. He's like really thinking about it, really imagining it. And he got himself to such a place that as he's walking through the forest, it falls from the sky. Okay? Like legitimately, it wasn't there and now it was,
Yeah.
right? Because he had, and this didn't just happen, right? Like in the fact that he didn't just like suddenly not change anything about himself. He had been changing something about himself for that time while he was in the woods, right?
Yeah.
He was really working on, how am I thinking? How am I feeling? How am I acting? Right? Like he was really focused on that, really focused on creating a new personality, basically, becoming somebody different.
Mhm.
And that was the work, quote unquote, work that he did in order to create this kind of experience. Okay. You
Yeah.
can look, and if this is like so unbelievable to you, it was unbelievable to me as well. But then I had to think about like, anybody that's out there that's ever read the Bible, there are stories like this that happen in the Bible also.
Yeah.
If you are in any way have ever been brought up in any kind of Christian anything, this should not be unbelievable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but it really shouldn't. And maybe that's advice you didn't want, but the things that are talked about in the Bible that seem unbelievable should not be. The healings that Jesus did, we can do that and more. Jesus said that.
Yeah.
All this and more you can do.
Yeah.
More, guys, and we're not doing it. And
Yeah.
that to me is the crying shame because it's like, oh, it's unbelievable that bread could fall from the sky. Why? It happened once before. Why
Hmm.
can't it happen now?
Yeah.
And then what's really crazy is he was like, you know, I really want to create that possibility again of having bread just show up. And so he started to actually focus on it with even more intention for the next time. And he's really working on that manifestation. Like, I want to create this bread. It went a couple months before he was finally like, what the fuck am I doing? And he realized he was trying to create it in the same way that he had before. Source doesn't work like that. Source wants to surprise the shit out of you. And so when he realized that, he was kind of like, well, shit, I need to actually just let this happen how it needs to happen.
Hmm.
And sure enough, a week after he made that decision, bread showed up on his doorstep, exactly the same kind of bread.
That's
Somebody
hilarious.
had gifted him bread. He didn't know where it came from.
Hmm.
Hello, like this is the thing. Like there's so many learnings to learn from this. Not only do we need to let go of how it needs to show up, like that's the thing, we always have this idea of how it needs to show up. When he
Yeah.
let go of how it needed to show up, the impossible happened,
Mhm.
right? And in the first place, when he changed who he was, the impossible happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of this, like there's so much to really glean from this, but I think those are the two main things that are so important to remember, that we are so powerful, and we just have to be open to receive how it needs to be given to us.
Hmm. Well, and I think that the cool thing about that is there's a big debate in the whole like manifestation community of can something come from nothing?
Mm,
And to me, that is the prime example of you really just need to be a vibrational match and it
mhm,
will happen. Like he did not exchange any effort, especially the second time, because he's like, oh, I just need to let this be.
mhm,
It's just he got his vibrations in check by imagining and thinking and all that kind of stuff initially about the bread. And then he was like, "Oh, I just need to let this go." And then it happened again. And so I truly don't think we need to exchange anything for what we want. And it's a really hard concept in our 3D reality to think about, because you think about, oh, I need to read the books, or I need to plant the seeds, I need to work and exchange work, and then I'll get money, and maybe I'll exchange it and I'll get it tenfold back, or I need to exercise to build muscles. And it's like, no, you don't. And I think one of the best examples of this is like my partner actually for physical capabilities or whatever you want to call it. So I'm one of those people that right now I don't really exercise, but I used to do CrossFit and I used to really work hard to get abs. Like I really worked very hard for it. And it was next to impossible. Like as a female to like have literally no fat on my stomach. And I watched what I ate and I worked out 3 times a day and did different types of exercises and like all the things. And like I've worked with personal trainers, I've bought courses, I've done programs, all the things. And when I met my partner, he had a six pack. And I was just like, so what do you do to get your six pack? And at this point, I had stopped caring about it. It was more in my early 20s that I cared. And he's like, nothing. I've gone to the gym once in my life. He doesn't do any ab exercises whatsoever. And he's like, I just work. Like it was just his 9 to 5 job as a plumber. And he's like, that's what gave me a six pack. And I'm like, plumbers are known like to be bigger guys. And I'm just like, that doesn't even check out at all. And here his two brothers and his dad are all plumbers and they all don't have six packs, very, very opposite body structures, and are all hard workers. They all eat tons and tons of food. Like my partner eats so much food, so unhealthy, especially when I met him, and he had a six pack. Not even trying. It was what it was, and it was nothing he ever attempted or tried. It just that's what he had.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, at the end of the day, it's about being the vibrational match.
yeah,
And in some sense, it does take quote, and I'm going to say quote unquote work because you do have to become the match for it.
yeah,
That is the energy that needs to be created in order to create. So, the whole concept of something from nothing, yes and no, because you have to be the vibrational match for it. Like that's the something that has to happen in order to create the something, right? So the thing that I find just so fascinating about this is that we really don't have to work really hard for it, but we do need to start, like we do need to start to create new thoughts. And
yeah,
sometimes getting new thoughts means getting around new people, means reading some books in 3D reality, means meditating, which that's really not hard work because you're sitting and you're just being. You can do this with music, without music. It doesn't really fucking matter. I did both this morning. Both are equally valid, and both work really well just to become present with yourself and feel. Okay. Like that's the thing that if you are in the 5D, you are not going to have a body. You're not going to have thoughts. You're not going to have like you are going to have thoughts, but it's going to be a feeling kind of thought more than
yeah,
anything, right? Really what I'm trying to get at is that in the 5D, it's the feeling.
yeah,
Okay. And in order to create from the 5D where it wasn't there and now it suddenly is we got to get in the feeling. The feeling is so important. So if you wake up every morning and you're like, I just don't feel like it, that's where you got to start, kid. I don't know how to say this any different. Like, I literally had to look at every single thought,
hmm,
every single feeling, and go, is this actually a match for what I want to create?
yeah,
And a lot of times the answer is no. No, because a lot of us have been programmed to live, this is actually a scientific fact, to live 70% of our day in very limited ways, meaning I can't do that. I don't feel good. I don't want to. We've been programmed to live 70% of our day. So if 70% of my day is thinking thoughts like, I don't feel good, I'm frustrated, I hate this, blah, 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 then where can we create from?
hmm, yeah,
Where? So the challenge for all of us, myself included, mostly myself because I can only really teach myself this. Um, the challenge is to notice all of those thoughts that just don't feel good and go, how can I replant this? How can
hmm,
I change how I feel about that person, place, thing? How can I change what is going on for me? What's a new thought I can think about this? One of my
yeah,
favorite things that I've started doing is when I feel frustrated with somebody, I love the new thought that I created of, isn't it great that they're a reflection of what I need to change?
hmm,
So if I'm feeling frustrated, they're reflecting back to me this thing that I need to change. It would have been hidden from me before, but now I can see it ever so plainly. I need to
hmm,
change that because that's obviously been there. If that's coming up, I need to change that. And they're just reflecting that back to me. Isn't it great that things don't have to be hidden from me anymore? That's a
yeah,
whole new way to look at it instead of sitting there going, I can't believe they did this. I can't believe that. Um, and it creates so much change in you. And now you can go, oh, I have stuff to work on. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that's the really cool thing of just letting go. And that's kind of I've been in this weird place, which
Hmm.
I've been in such a weird place for the last 3 weeks. And I don't know, I've made three changes, and I don't know if it's all of them contributing to it or none. And it is. Um, but the astrology right now and the Schumann resonance right now, like, are fucking crazy. Like, if you're following any of that stuff, like, they are insane right now. And then I started taking, I'm gonna say it wrong probably, but Shalajit,
She legit.
Shilajit, like, and And I think it's doing amazing things for my body. And then the other one is I've just been like, I just am focused right now on this. And um I've been able to move through and do things that I like, and it's very so like right now with the astrology, it's very much like productive home situation. And me and the kids have basically done spring cleaning of our whole home. And I've been knowing that I needed to do this for a long time. And I've talked about it a lot, but it would be like I would do it a little bit and I would be like at that like 80% mark, and then life would blow up again. And I'd be like, oh my God. And so then I'd have to do it again. And so I was talking to our mentor, and she's like, your home doesn't support the energy that you want, and you need to get that in check. And so that's what I've been doing. And it's been like this like weird thing because I've been dropping the ball in a lot of different areas and a lot of different things. But it's like I feel like this call and this pull that I have to do this. I have to get everything in my house and in my like my body home energetic frequency match. And then when I come back to the table in all the other areas, everything's just gonna go and like pop off. And I don't know if that makes sense, but it has felt so rewarding and so blissful at the same time. I'm unbelievably exhausted, but it's really weird how I don't know. I don't know if it's the astrology because that is what the astrology right now is supporting, but it's like so weird how if you like fall into that, it feels so supported. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I did a TikTok last night though that's a little bit contrary to this too, in the fact that like, because I had somebody say on one of our TikToks, like my astrology doesn't really support like my astrology, my birth chart and all of that. I every time I read it, I'm like, that's not me. I don't relate to that. And my answer to that is you don't have to have astrology or the Schumann resonance tell you who you are either.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can decide at any moment who you want to be. And a lot of that comes down to having new thoughts and learning new things, whether it's on a 3D level or a 5D level, and becoming somebody new because of those new ideas that you've just created. So, for
Yeah.
example, with this, like if you've never known your whole life that sugar is bad for you, and you're like, I just eat breakfast, lunch, dinner, sugar, like you're just like, you don't know that it's not bad for you. You don't know why you feel like shit. And then somebody comes along, gives you some information and tells you, hey, by the way, if you cut out some sugar, you'll probably feel better. That new information is going to cause you to have a new experience because you started to make new choices around it. And then you started to act differently. And then you have new experiences and you're like, holy shit. So, yes and no. Like, use the energy of astrology, use the Schumann resonance, but also realize that it doesn't always have to be that way either, you know? So, in this case, like, this obviously is bringing up things for you. And I think that's the biggest thing that astrology and the Schumann resonance are doing right now is it's just bringing things up that we need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
And that's really what matters the most at the end of the day. I don't really put a lot of time and energy into astrology because it brings things up that I need to work on. Absolutely. But I can see that in my 3D reality already, you know? So it's like, if that's showing it to me, I can see what my 3D is telling me. I can create that change too.
Mhm.
And maybe, I mean, I feel like this will always be a, something that I continue to wrestle around with because yes, the moon, yes, the planets, they all can have effect, but how much? How much do they have to, you know? And at the end of the day, obviously it's bringing things up for you, bringing things to light for you that are really healthy and helpful. So use that energy and move through it as you must, you know? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's, I don't know. This whole conversation is such a process for me, I feel like, because um I don't like the idea of something outside of me controlling me. That's what's hard for me because that's not a belief system I ever want to be a part of. So, and I don't even think that that's what you were saying with any of this at all.
Yeah.
But that I just wanted to share all of that because that's like the first thing that always comes to my head whenever this topic comes up of astrology, human resonance, all of that, it's like, I don't want something outside of me to control me, because then I've become a victim to my environment and I want nothing to do with that, you know? So I don't know. It's let it be a game, I guess.
Yeah, and like I definitely don't feel controlled by it,
Mm,
but it would be crazy to think that the moon affects the ocean and all the things and it doesn't affect us. It's like obviously like the moon doesn't control the ocean because it doesn't ha control hurricanes or tsunamis or any of that kind of stuff, right? Like eventually it does have its own storm to it. And so it's like the astrology is affecting us and has influence over us. But at the end of the day, like we're the hurricane, we're the tsunami, we're more powerful and we're going to override that. Um, I also believe that there's a certain aspect, um, and like I'm a little bit torn on this one too, but I believe that there's a certain aspect of us that chooses where we're coming to Earth and who we're coming to, and that includes our birth chart. Like we're including all of that decisions when we come to Earth. And um there are things about birth charts which aren't always going to be exact because it's people interpreting, right? It's
yeah.
people interpreting it and then putting it in their own perspective into a book. But what I have found, like when I compile different things, there's going to be synchronicities to it, and the synchronicities of like the different astrologers are what really resonate with me. Like
Mm,
it's like that's what's more powerful. So like if you're just looking at one source, it may not resonate with you because that's that person putting it in to words in the way that they know how to. So yeah, so anyways, I think it's pretty cool to like understand like and have like a better understanding of yourself and have like a clearer window and awareness and also be able to tap into that power. It's like riding the wave,
hmm.
like
Yeah.
if you're going with the wave, it's going to be a lot easier than going against the wave.
Yeah.
But if you really have no desire to go with the wave, you can go against it. Like it's possible. But astrology isn't ever against us. Like it's always gonna support us. And yeah, so
Yeah. I mean, you talked about riding the wave. That's the most important thing I think from this whole thing is like
mhm.
uh, every time there is a spike, this was happening the other day. I was fucking nuts because we were just watching TV and I was like half in it because I was like half interested, half not. And I was looking at TikTok at the same time, which I hate doing this, but I did it. So, and somebody commented on one of my videos talking about how the Schumann resonance was like really like the energy of the earth was really affecting them in some cool ways. And literally, as I was reading that, before I started reading it, I was starting to feel chills all through my body.
Mhm.
And, literally like as I'm reading it I'm like, ooh, I think there's a spike happening right now. And sure enough, like it's just one of those things, like you can feel that energy if you tune yourself into it, and you
Yeah.
can ride that wave of it, you know,
Mhm.
like allow yourself to use the energy around you in to your to your greatest be your greatest asset, right? So
Yeah.
so as far as like the whole like you came in at a certain time, you came in at a certain frequency. Yeah, because let's just be honest, time's not a thing. So you
Mhm.
decided to come in at a certain frequency, and that frequency is what we see in this 3D reality right now, right? Because time is actually all stacked up on itself. It's all happening right now. And this is so hard for, if I try to think about this logically, it makes absolutely no sense. But when I'm in meditation, not thinking about this on a logical level, it makes fucking perfect sense, because it's like, it's all happening right now. How did I meet my future self? Because she is here right now at this moment in time, right? Right? Like she's always here. Like
Mhm.
everything is always happening at once. And it's just, it's crazy. So, like, thinking about it from that perspective is like, absolutely. Like, we came in at a certain frequency, just like we had to come in order to create something, in order to manifest something in our 3D reality, we had to be a vibrational match. Just like when we came into this 3D plane, we had to be a vibrational match for a certain 3D reality to show up, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
So it's crazy to think about all of the different multiverses, all of the different possibilities, all the different choices that you could make, that literally it's like every time you have to make a choice, it's like a split off in not just two ways, but many different ways, because there's so many different choices that we could make in this life. And just think about all of that on a logical level. It kind of makes you go, what the fuck? That's so
Mm.
weird. But
Yeah.
it's like, it's just, that's the reality of this universe, of this multiverse, is that it is all happening right now, and we can always choose to become somebody different depending on the vibrational frequency that we are putting out in this
Yeah.
3D plane. So hopefully all that made sense.
Yeah, that kind of comes back to our initial topic of how things are hidden in plain sight.
Mm,
And that's we have like perception of their reality. We won't see them. And so like this is kind of like where we were ending on our last podcast. So if you guys want to kind of go back and listen to that, um I had talked to on our TikTok about the Christopher Columbus story, where when the explorers and Christopher Columbus came to basically where you live, somewhere in the Caribbean, they rode big ships, and then they rode big ship or the smaller ships in, like rowboats, into shore, and the indigenous people and everything saw them coming in these rowboats because they could perceive that. They could have that makes sense. Like that is similar to my canoe. That makes sense. And so they saw these people coming in, and they tried to communicate, like, how did you get here? And they were describing big ships, and they're like, we don't see any. And so there's all these big ships that were at sea, invisible from the shoreline, but the indigenous people couldn't see them because they didn't fit their perception, but they could see them rowing in. And so then after they were done like communicating with them and learning about these big ships and all that kind of stuff, these people rowed back to their big ships. And there's countless accounts of this where all of a sudden these big ships would come into their view. And so they had been told about them. And so then it fit in their realm of like, okay, this is actually a thing. So then they start to believe it could be reality. And then all of a sudden, these people are getting out of rowboats. And so they have to line it up with something because otherwise they're just climbing into air. And so then all of a sudden, the whole shoreline of ships came into view. And it's just crazy. There's so much scientific evidence where if your mind can't perceive that something is real, it won't. And this kind of turns into a little bit more of like my fantasy world. There's lots of people that talk about seeing like fairies or mystical creatures and all that kind of stuff, and or like spirits or aliens. And I know you've experienced aliens before. I don't know if that's what you call them, but um, and I believe that they're always around. But if they don't fit our perception of reality, we're not going to see them. And if we're not in alignment with that reality perception, um, we will see them occasionally and that kind of thing. And so I personally am a strong believer that dragons are real and mermaids are real and all that kind of stuff is legitimate. Because how do all of these cultures, like from like in their history books or like cave paintings or whatever, depict the same thing over and over again all over the world? Like, to me it has to be because they existed, and I believe they probably still do. I believe they still do, but our perception doesn't allow it because we're being told that they're make believe.
hmm I mean, it kind of goes back to what we were talking about too with the it was in the Bible times, so why isn't it
Yeah,
happening now, right? Like that
yeah,
whole concept of, oh, but it's so unbelievable. But is it though? Like somebody wrote it down. I mean, there's a
yeah,
lot of inconsistencies in the Bible. I will tell you that right now. But
yeah,
there's also like a lot of stories that it's like, that's interesting. But then you hear stories like what I shared at the beginning, and it's like, that actually tracks because that does line up with what was happening back then. So it really does all come down to perspective. One of my mentors from years ago was talking about, so you could hold up, let's see, I don't really have anything good to hold up, but um, here's this rock. Okay, you see this rock, yeah? So what I actually see here is celebrate. And you could be like, I don't see celebrate. What are you talking about? And I could say to you, no, I absolutely see celebrate. It's here, it's right now, it's a part of this. And you could be like, Karen, what you're holding up in your hand is literally just a rock. Until you
Hmm.
change your perspective and you look at it and it says celebrate on the other side. I
Yeah.
was holding it towards me. This is my perspective of it. I'm looking at it, and the rock says celebrate, right?
Yeah.
And you're like, no, that's not, you could fight with me all day long. But when you change your perspective, you see the other side is actually, oh, I see what she's saying. It does say celebrate.
Yeah.
But it's true for anything in life. Like, we have to like change how we look at something in order for it to change,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, like this could be a person, this could be a circumstance, this could be anything in life.
Hmm.
If it is making us feel a limited way where we don't feel good about it, how can we change ourselves in order to see it differently, in order
Hmm.
to be grateful for it on some level? And the moment we tap into that gratitude of feeling good about it, thank you for having that happen, because in order for me to change, I needed that. I
Hmm.
needed that in my life in order for me to become who I am now. Right.
Yeah.
And the moment that we can say thank you to those things is the moment that that entire experience changes. And a lot of times people will show up differently
Yeah.
because we've changed our perspective also. Because
Yeah.
now, instead of getting frustrated at something that somebody said or did, or a circumstance that just didn't go our way, we change our perspective around it. Now that there is energy that's available for that person, situation, thing to show up differently for us. And
Hmm.
that changes everything.
Yeah. Well, and so we see animals do weird and crazy things all the time that don't make sense. Like I live in the mountains and there's goats that literally are like on cliffs that are like centimeters. I'm pretty confident it's centimeters. And they're walking on cliffs like in like the air. Like literally, like
Yeah.
I don't know. You need to look up pictures if you haven't seen this. But something weird that happened to me yesterday. So I'm sitting on a deck right now for those watching or listening, or you can't see if you're listening. And I would say it's like 15 feet above the ground. And then on that, I have 4 feet raised garden beds right here. And so I'm far up and I was cutting lettuce out of one of these garden beds yesterday and I felt something slimy and I'm like, what the fuck is that? And I moved my lettuce over and I almost snipped a frog.
Oh
And I was just
no.
like, but like, what? Like, how did he get in my raised garden bed? Like to me, that makes no logical sense whatsoever. Like I am 10, 15 feet off the ground. There's stairs coming out of a gravel driveway into where the flower bed is, or he would have to go through my house. And then he's in a 4 foot raised garden bed on top of that. Like, how did this frog get in there?
See, it's
And
not hard
so,
for me to believe because frogs here, they suction cup themselves to everything. So
and like, but my raised garden beds are like prickly wood too. Like it's to me, it's just unbelievable. Anyways, and so I'm like, if he can figure out how to get into my lettuce bed, we can figure out how to do a lot of other stuff. And
Mhm.
sure enough, so my daughter's very into like animal meanings and like when we see something weird, we look it up. And so yesterday, we've never seen frogs in our yard ever. And yesterday we had two within an hour in weird situations. And so she looked it up and it's about taking time to feel your emotions and then about doing the thing and quantum leaping. And I'm just like, yeah, that's exactly where I am right now. Like a lot of things in my life, I feel like this doesn't really make sense, and I don't know if this is okay or good. And I'm like, but this is what feels right. And yeah, it's really interesting. And I'm like, that's exactly like a weird confirmation right now.
Yeah, I mean that's what nature and 3D reality can do for us too. Like that's what's really
Yeah.
great is that if we're paying attention and we're looking at our 3D reality, it's actually telling us everything that we need to know. And we
Yeah.
don't need to ask questions that are sometimes silly.
Mhm.
I learned this a long time ago in a lucid dream. I asked one of my dream characters, like I can't remember what the exact question was, but it was basically like, what do I need to do differently? Like, how do I get this thing to happen? And they looked at me and they were like, it already has. Like, it looked at me like I was stupid too. And I was like, oh, whoops. It already has. And I had to sit with that for a little while because I literally like, our 3D reality is giving us the hints that we need. And that's really what they were trying to tell me. Like, you already have everything you need, you already have the hints you need. You just
Mhm.
need to pay attention to them.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's about being patient.
Mhm.
And that has been my greatest lesson.
Yeah.
Truly, my greatest lesson. Because as I've been patient, I've gone, okay, well, what might I do in order to continue this energetic flow towards what I want?
Yeah.
And that has brought me to learning new things, new skill sets, deepening my skill sets to the point where now I can literally be like, holy shit, I didn't know this 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And this can change everything for me,
Yeah.
everything in a seeming instant,
Yeah.
right? But really nobody looked behind the scenes to see the patience that had to go in.
Mhm.
The allowing of the patience is what I needed to learn because one of my greatest challenges has been time.
Mhm.
How, why can't this happen faster? Has been the subconscious belief that's been playing out for so long. And once I realized that, I realized I need to change my perspective on this. And I need to be grateful for that time
Mhm.
because now, yes, the quantum leap happens instantaneously, but
Mhm.
the energy that I had to um, spend to actually allow myself to be patient with it
Yeah.
was what was the most important challenge to overcome. And
Yeah.
because I changed my perspective, because I looked at that rock differently, I saw on the other side it was written celebrate. Now I can go, oh, okay. I can look
Mhm.
at this completely differently.
Yeah, for
So.
sure.
So, with that, I think that's a really good place to end. So, friends, if you're listening on your favorite podcast host, then go ahead, give us a 5 star. Let us know in the comments what your thoughts are. And if you're listening on YouTube, go ahead, give us a like, give us a subscribe. Let us know in the comments what you think as well. So, with that, we're going to call TMI Advice You Didn't Want a wrap for today. See everyone next time. Thanks so much for watching. Click on one of the videos below to continue hanging out with us and don't forget to subscribe.